Peace and welcome to the show. Today we got a great one for you folks. First, we're going to talk about the early release of the killer of Laquan McDonald, the 17-year-old in Chicago that was killed by a former police officer in Chicago, Jason Van Dyke. We'll talk about the implications of the early release. Also, let's talk about the fact that there is a huge pay transparency issue where states across the country are saying that employers must show how much they're paying the position. We'll talk about the impact of that. And today is National Black HIV Awareness Day. We'll check in with Prissy Abrams about what do we need to do to protect ourselves and stay healthy. And then later, of course, we got it. Trends, posts, and doing the most. So stay riding with us. We got a lot to get to on tonight's edition of The Culture right here on Black Star Network. Let's go. Did you hear me? Folks, welcome to the show. We got a great a number of great conversations set up for you this afternoon that we want to jump right into. But as always, we want to welcome you. And of course, this is our third show here on the Black Star Network. Very, very excited to have an opportunity to come back and be a part of the conversations. And we've just been appreciative of so many of you who have checked in online, on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, and just showing your support for us here at The Culture. So we thank you so much for that support and continuing to tune in. Now, tonight, folks, as we have been talking about all of these big issues, one of the things that have been really at the heart of the matter is justice. And this has been a principle that I have constantly advocated for, that in order for us to make the type of progress we need to in America, there are two elements that need to be included in every conversation. And those two elements are truth and justice. And so what we're seeing right now in this country, especially when it comes to issues of police brutality, is that justice still seems to be far off. And today we're going to have our first conversation. Our first discussion is going to be about the early release of former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke and how he was released today, but he is also the killer of the 17-year-old Black boy, Laquan McDonald in Chicago. Now, Laquan was killed 16 shots, folks, 16 shots in the body of this young man. And so we're going to discuss the implications. Now, I'm going to just break this thing down for you. You know, I've been involved in the cause of police brutality for years, even before Freddie Gray here in Baltimore. But this case and these cases that we continue to see and continue to hear about day in and day out, it shows us a lot. It shows us that we aren't as far along as we thought we were. It shows us that there's still a lot of work to be done. And this is why you may have seen me say this on Brother Roland's show, that the George Floyd Justice for Policing Act was the key to helping to really set a new dynamic, change the culture of how this country deal with police brutality. And the unfortunate, and I think this is one of the most saddening things about this piece of legislation, that it really wasn't passed, that it was stalled. Even though in that piece of legislation, which I thought was dynamic, and it put us on a better track to finding and getting the justice that victims deserve and need. But one of the big pieces about this George Floyd Justice for Policing Act is the fact that police officers would be held accountable. And that is one of the pieces that got it stalled in Congress, because some of the lawmakers said, no, we do not want to hold police officers personally accountable. The way that we've been holding police officers accountable is that we either remove them or they fire them or they get, but not to be held personally liable for the death of anyone that they killed unjustly in the line of duty. And also a part of that is of that George Floyd Justice for Policing Act is this idea of creating a database, a national database that speaks to the number of police shootings, unjust police shootings that occur in this country each and every year. We need a significant number. You have a number of newspapers and other resources that have kept track of that, but not the national government, not the federal government, which is mind-boggling to me to say the least, because these are the numbers that will help to shape the context about what we're seeing, how serious of an issue this really is. Then the other part of that act speaks to the fact that in order for us to really get the justice, a lot of these police officers, they go through a grand jury, and a lot of these grand jury proceedings are, done without the public's knowledge, or they are kept behind closed doors. The decisions, the deliberating, is all of that process is kept behind closed doors. And now we're at a point where even though some officers, now you could think of the great number of cases, we could think of the list of names of victims, but only a very, very small number of officers actually are taken to court, are charged and convicted, and are sentenced to serve time in prison. Very, very small number. It is still an uphill battle, folks, to bring former police officers to justice when they have killed someone unjustly in the line of duty. And that is so heartbreaking, not just to the families, but to anyone of good conscience, that you have police officers who are supposed to protect and serve, who still do their jobs without any accountability, without any regard to the fact that they can get away with murder. And that's where we are. That's exactly where we are in this country. And this case right here of Jason Van Dyke, here is a man who was sentenced to only about 6 years in prison, folks. Check this out. He was sentenced for 6 years in prison. And do you know the reason why they allowed him out of prison? Good behavior. So his sentence was cut pretty much by 50% because of his behavior in prison. And they said, okay, you can go home now. Now, will he be able to become a police officer again? Most likely not. But 3 years for shooting a 17-year-old 16 times is not sufficient. And we see this and we hear this, but yet Congress is not doing its part. And the community, we're left standing there looking, hoping, wishing upon a star that some justice comes down and try to reconcile this pain, this hurt. And it goes to show us, folks, that we still have so much work to do. So much work to do. Please don't believe. Please do not believe that just because people aren't protesting in the streets, that the fight is over. Please, let's not believe that. Just because we didn't see the type of demonstration that we saw in 2020, that we should just give up. Please, let's not go there. This case, this issue is still something worthy and necessary for us to fight. This case right here. This issue right here, this is necessary for us to keep going. This is necessary for us to learn more about the system. This is a great opportunity for us to keep the momentum going on the White House, on Congress. And see, let's just break this down into government 101. All right, civics 101. If we see and understood the power that we have as citizens of this country, as constituents, we would raise our voices and we will say enough is enough. Yes, the bill may have died in Congress because you have some Republicans and some Democrats who say, oh, the bill needs to include this and the bill needs to do that. But does that mean that the fight needs to die in the heart and the minds and the spirit of us, the people? It does not. We are still in this fight, folks. Things haven't changed. Not to the point where mothers and fathers, when they allow their teenage sons to go into the streets, that you feel at ease, that you feel safe. Things haven't changed, not to the point where when a police officer pulls up behind a black man in America, that we still don't fear. We still don't have those thoughts in the back of our minds that this may be my last encounter with this officer. It doesn't take much anymore. So I'm saying all that to say that there is a serious problem, not just of policing in this country when it comes to handling Black men and women, but there is a serious problem in our system where these things are allowed to happen, continue to happen. And I've heard people use the term state-sanctioned violence, and that's what this is. We also heard the term justifiable homicide. That's what this is. This is a time for us to say enough is enough and to not let our feet off the gas. We can't. My 8-year-old son he needs a future. Your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, they need to know that their family and those in their family, the conscience of their family is awake to the point that they understand the severity of this issue. We got a lot of work to do. We really have a lot of work to do. So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about this case, but more importantly, I want to dive deep into the implications with my culture crew. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's get into it. Let's discuss it. Join us on the chats on YouTube and Facebook. Let your friends and family know. We want to talk a little bit about police brutality. I'll give you some details about this case and what can we do as we move forward. Stay with us. We got a lot to cover right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape. with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood-Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we are about to start the conversation around the early release of former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke. This is the officer that was responsible for killing 17-year-old Laquan McDonald back on October the 20th of 2014. Laquan was shot at for 16 times in the streets of Chicago at that time. And it was a sad state of affairs. It was taken all on video, where if you saw the video and if you remember the video, it was heartbreaking. It was truly heartbreaking. Here you have this young Black boy who really didn't pose a threat. Look at this video, folks. Look at how many officers around. Look at how he's walking. Now, how was he a threat? He's walking away and then fatally shot and killed. He wasn't even a threat. So it pains me. And we didn't want to show that video just for purposes of being graphic or anything, but we just wanted to show you the savagery. And it pains me that young man was shot and killed like a dog in the streets. His killer went behind bars, went to prison with a light sentence of 6 years, and then only served 3 for good behavior. I want to bring in some members of the culture crew. Nira Muhammad, she's an author, writer, educator, and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast. She's my wife. We talk about these things all the time. And then I'm also joined by Rashad Staten, who is an activist and educator. And in a few moments, we'll also be joined by attorney J. Wendell Gordon to share his insights about this. Nira, Rashad, always good to have you both a part of the conversation.
Thanks for having me, Farajii.
Absolutely. Rashad, thank you, brother.
Peace, brother. You always know it's always great to be with the culture, to be with the team.
Yeah. we showed the video, and it's. I'm kind of speechless because I feel like, and I'm gonna start with you, dear. Like I feel like we've been down this road so many times. You know what I mean, and you upset, but you're not upset. You know what I mean? You get into a space where you just like, I mean, Jason Van Dyke. He went to prison, came out. He may get a job somewhere. He may go into protective services. But guess what? I mean, he's going to be able to live his life. We're not in a culture where people were hunting or trying to track down police officers out of a place of vengeance and vigilantism. We're not there. So this man is going to, live his life. He may have lost some things, but the one thing that he definitely didn't lose was his life. What's your take, Nira?
Well, I mean, using data compiled by Fatal Encounters, created by Nevada-based journalist D. Brian Buckhart in 2018, 1 in 18 Black boys and men will be killed by a police officer, in comparison to 39 out of 100,000 white boys and men. 1 in 1,000 Black boys and men, 39 in 100,000 white boys and men. It's at a place now where we can't even, it's hard to even have these discussions because what can be said? This is our reality. It's funny. I have a book behind me that says, "This is my America. This is my America. This is our America." I have a son. I fear for my son every single day. And that's why I can tell you, ever since becoming a mom, it's harder and harder for me to see those videos. I see my son every single time I see those videos. That officer should not be walking the streets. Even just looking at that clip, I'm glad you guys like cut it short, but that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
That was very, very hard to watch. There was zero aggression on the part of that young man. Zero. And we've seen cases where young white males have been extremely aggressive.
Oh, come on.
And still made it into custody. Made it home.
Yeah.
It's not the innate fear. I remember getting pulled over with our son in the car, and he was about 5 years old at the time, and he burst into tears. He was afraid. Yeah. And I don't put the fear of police in him. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in putting fear into my son, period. I can have fear for him, but I don't like to put that fear back into my son. But for him to bust out crying because police officers were pulling us over for a traffic stop, I mean, that's our reality. This is our America.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you made an excellent point. There have been a number of cases where they've treated school shooters with more respect. Rashad?
Dylan.
They treated school shooters with more respect.
And right? He got a free meal at Burger King.
Burger King?
You're talking about Dylan Roof, the killer of 9 people down in Charleston, walking into a church, sit there with the parishioners, unload, and within a 45-minute situation, takes out the lives of 9 people. I mean, and you're going to take this joker to Burger King?
Burger King.
Yeah. I think it's just like you said, Farajii, it's state-sanctioned murder on Black bodies, Black existence, and Black spirit. Even when you hear Nira throw out those data, it's one of those ones where it's recognizable disparities, it's recognizable systemic oppression, and it's just violence on the Black body and our existence. And to see that the reality when you look at this officer being convicted for 6 to 7 years and getting off on good behavior for a murder that he caused and was and acted out of what he should have been trained to do in the first place, it's unsettling, right? And it should not be justified. It only brings us to, is it just us that never received justice? Right? Is it just us that never received justice? And we've seen it in our community. Someone in our communities that look like us, that share our hue and our skin tone, will receive a harsher penalty with much more bedtime for a non-violent offense, for him to get something that we can literally see him acting out of manner, out of his professional trainings, and is now being lessened of what we would deem as not even sufficient justice, but to get off within 3 years like that. So what is that saying about how valuable the life of Laquan is to how the system sees us in itself? Good behavior, like for that in itself, what did he do? What did he do? Clean up his cell a few times over? Spoke highly of the guards that was looking over him? I just don't like that idea of it in itself.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hard part about it, and you talked about, our son and his relationship with police. Let me just let y'all know, folks, this is something that I've done that I think that we can start doing. And there's small things like this that I'm about to share that I think will open up the conversation, but more importantly, just change the culture. We live in a neighborhood, police are present, and one thing that I did is that I took my son over to the police officer, who were 2 Black officers. I took them over and introduced them to the Black officers. And I said, son, this is Officer so-and-so. This is Officer so-and-so. You will see them in the neighborhood. And I said, officers, this is my son. This is his friends. And the 2 Black officers had a big old smile on their face and greeted them with such warm energy and said, we are so happy to meet you. And I remember just standing there, hoping that little moment will change my son's view of police, because he loved the police now. He played around with, you know what I'm saying? He every time he see him, hey, officer, and they, hey, he loved them now. But I'm just saying, we, and I'm not saying that you can do this with all police, but we don't want to create a generation of cop killers, but we don't want to create a generation of fearful boys and girls as well. And I think that is the big thing. I want to bring in Attorney J. Wendell Gordon. He's an attorney that deals with a lot of civil rights issues and most police brutality cases here in the state of Maryland, and he does his work in Baltimore and throughout. He had worked on the case with Corinne Gaines in Baltimore County, Maryland, because she was shot and killed by police just a few years ago. But here's a man that understand the dynamics of how the system works when it comes to police officer. Brother Jay, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about what we just experienced with this release of Jason Van Dyke. I mean, 3 years, it's like a slap on the wrist. I don't know if we even should get in the conversation about the sentence that he got or the implication of what this case may do for other cases down the road. Where do we start with that?
I mean, they always find a way to snatch the rug out from under us. He received a 7-year sentence. He hasn't even done half of that. He did 3 years, they say, for good time. Now, it's not uncommon for someone to serve, a portion of a sentence. In Maryland, I think you do 25% on nonviolent and maybe 50% or more, or just over 50% on violent crimes. So I could see him getting out soon, but to get out early is unheard of, and it goes back to that privilege that the judicial system or the justice system seems to embrace, that white privilege. I mean, I don't know what was done, what he could possibly do to not even make it to the halfway mark of his sentence or beyond, other than be white, because I'm sure there are a lot of brothers, and I can say this and not even know anything about it, but I can say it with a great degree of confidence. There are a lot of brothers who are serving 7-year sentences, perhaps for even non-violent offenses, who don't get out of court that early.
And Jay, that's one of the things that crossed my mind. We got brothers who get caught with a little bit of marijuana and they do more time.
Mm-hmm. And so this case is one of those cases where, we have to do more as African Americans to get involved in this system. You know what I mean? And thank goodness for the jurors who even found him guilty, because that was a victory in and of itself. And so now it's time to put the focus on judges. I've been saying this for the last 5 to 7 years, probably longer than that. We need to focus on these judges. Don't let these judges get away. When they come to you, when they want to run for office, at least in Maryland, you have to run for office if you hold a circuit court seat. Don't let them come to you and just be a judge and tell you I'm a judge, I'm a sitting judge, or I'm running to be a judge. Talk to them about their policies. Let's get records of their incarceration rates of African-American men in particular, because I'll tell you what, in the state of Maryland, we incarcerate more black men than any other state, almost any other state in the nation. We lead Mississippi in our incarceration of black men. So, we have a very spotted record, very sordid record, actually, of the incarceration of black men. This Laquan McDonald thing, again, most people in the legal community are not really surprised by it, other than the fact that he got out before that 50% mark.
Yeah.
You have to serve at least 50% of your time on a violent offense. And so for that, yeah, I do believe that people gave him extra attention, extra consideration, and extra privileges to have his matter put to the top of the deck, wherever the deck was, and have his matter ruled upon that quickly.
I want to share with you, and I want to bring my culture crew into this, because there was a quote, Brother Jay, that really kind of got under my skin, and this is from the special prosecutor, Mr. Joe McMahon, who's a special prosecutor on this case. He made this statement in a recent interview. He said, quote, "I understand the sentence that was imposed is less than what a lot of people wanted. It's less than what I asked for. It's less than what I thought was appropriate. However, this was a successful prosecution. It's incredibly rare for a police officer in any jurisdiction, especially here in Chicago, to be charged, convicted, and sentenced to prison for murder." That's the message.
Hey, he's telling the truth, whether you like it or not. Stop focusing on the prosecutor. He did his job. He couldn't do any more. He put his case in front of the jury. He led with his strongest witnesses, his strongest evidence, and he secured a conviction. He doesn't have any control over sentencing. All he can do is say, "Judge, we want a sentence of this, and this is why we believe that's fair and just." The judge will consider what the state says, and consider what the defense says, and weigh it in his mind and come up with a sentence that's probably within some type of guidelines. But nonetheless, this guy probably got below the guidelines and he got out. But that's the judge. That ain't the prosecutor. That's the judge. The prosecutor did a job. You talk about getting crime off the street, taking crime off the street, not giving special preferences for blue crime versus black crime versus white crime. This prosecutor did it. So there's nothing that we can say about what he has done, because it wasn't his ultimate decision to determine how much time this guy was going to get. It was the judges, and the judges failed us.
Jay, do we need to start to have realistic expectations that when these cases, or if these cases go to court, that depending on, and Mr. McMahon said it in his statement, that in this jurisdiction of Chicago, it would have been incredibly hard, incredibly rare. How do we temper our expectations when certain cases happen in certain parts of the country? Do we say, if it happens in Mississippi, most likely it's not going to lead to a conviction? If it happens in Maryland, there's a 50-50 chance. Like, do we need to start to look at these cases from that angle?
Well, I think the more you know, the more you grow. You know what I mean? The more information you know about why it's so necessary to participate in jury duty, why it's so necessary to participate in the electoral process, why it's so necessary to assume all of your civic duties and responsibilities, because injustices will occur. We still live under a system of white bigotry, and this white bigotry will find its way to raise its head whenever it can. So we must be vigilant, not only in the ballot box when it comes to our elected officials, but when it comes to our judges. They shouldn't get a pass. They'll be all around the state of Maryland, in their little jurisdictions or their venues, asking for money. They ask lawyers for campaign contributions. They ask us all the time for campaign contributions so they can run and become judge for the next 15 years, for instance, in Maryland. And so when you want my money, you need to tell me what your policies are, how you feel about certain things. There needs to be a vetting process. Now, the bar associations have vetting processes. The Black bar associations, they do vet judges, but because of their professional courtesies, they tend not to scrutinize judges as well as they should, because everybody's like, oh, you can't ask that, you can't, oh, your tenor is wrong, this, like, we need to have a vetting process for civilians to get these people in front of them who say they want to be judges in our county and answer our questions. And let
me tell you something. Hey, Jay, I have to say, brother, that right there is, you just put a thought in my head. Like, we have these mayoral forums, we have these gubernatorial forums, we have presidential forums. We need to have some judges forums, because a lot of these, Brother Roland says this all the time. He says, look at the judges and the prosecutors, the state's attorneys and these judges. You got to look at their record. You got to look at their policy. And Rashad, I want to bring you back in along with you, Nira. Like, when you look at the seriousness of how these judges can create policies or institute policies, Rashad, that really we may not know about. We don't even know. Most of us, when we go to the ballot box, we just got our ballots today. Most of us don't take the time to say, oh, they got judges on here. Let me check out. And all you got to do is Google search, and you get a judge. So
you won't get as much information as you want from Google. You have to talk to these people, and you have to talk to people who've been before these people. Say, for instance, I was just in front of a judge a couple weeks ago, and we were dealing with the issue of violence in the school, and the judge told me, dismiss my case. It's on appeal now. Dismiss my case because he told me that a principal of a high school is a public official who is immune to suit. So he's entitled to immunity, official immunity. So I can't sue a principal of a high school. Yeah, that's what this judge. I'm telling you, these judges, man, we really need to start focusing on them. Rashad, focus on the prosecutor, but you also have to focus on these judges. I mean, if we're not looking at the judges, we're only looking at 1/3 of the problem, because when we were dealing with this whole bail issue, cash bails and all that stuff, and everybody was saying, oh yeah, we need to do away with cash bails because prosecutors aren't letting people out of jail because they can't afford to pay to get out of jail. No, it's the judges. The prosecutors go in and make a request, but the judge makes the final decision as to whether or not you're going to get a bail. Now, they've done away with cash bails, and everybody's sitting in jail. Nobody comes home. If you don't get out on your own recognizance, you staying in. And it's destroying our communities, as I said it would many years ago before they did that, got rid of cash bails. But the point of all this, and not to get back on that soapbox, the point of all this is to say that we need to pay close attention to these judges, and we need to vet them, and we need to put civic organizations together to vet judges.
Rashad, I want to get your take at the Nira.
Yeah, I agree with Brother Wendell. I think he hits it right on the point. He's given us intermediate steps that we can do that are practical for our communities, those that are ignorant of the fact, but also can be informed of how to take the necessary steps. I know myself, I recall in our last electoral cycle, when we had judges there, they put themselves on one single ticket, whereas though it was a one-size-fits-all checkbox, and that wasn't the best way to go about allowing the community to make an informed decision. It was more of like, you're going to take us or you're not going to take us, but you have no other option, right? So with any other options on the play and us not being educated enough to make these conscious decisions, we get put in this reciprocal cycle that doesn't allow us to show up and have the best ways of being protected by a system. I think what we need to do, like Brother Wendell said, is be more informed. And like you said, Farajii, is to bring these type of strategies around civic engagement, activism, and election cycles is to make it make sense to our communities, right? Make it make sense, put them in front of there, make them talk to the people. And like we said, we have plenty of people in our community that have sat across from a judge. We need to have these real conversations at our tables when we're dealing with our holiday seasons. We need to break bread and talk about these real things of these folks that have the power and decision that directly impact our lives. So when it comes back around, out of name familiarity or just experience in itself, we can say that person doesn't deserve to be there anymore because they're not doing the best to make sure that we as a people and as a community is best suited to receive any sense of justice. Because at this point, we're receiving the bare minimum of what justice is. Bare minimum. Nira, what's your take on that?
I have to say, I'm really blown away by everything that I've just taken in from this conversation. I've always followed, CNN. I follow, mayoral debates and presidential. But to be very transparent, I have never even thought of following the judges or even really looking into and researching the judges. I mean, let's be real. As moms, as teachers, as workers, we're so bombarded by so much all the time that it never even dawned on me to think about the judges. To be honest, I don't really think about the criminal justice system because that's just not it's not a system that I personally work with. So I guess my question would be, how do we get people like myself who just, it's not that I don't care, but it's just more of an out of sight, out of mind. I just didn't think of it. I didn't think of how important it is for us to focus on our judges when it comes to making these decisions and these laws. So how can we get more people who are already so bombarded by their day-to-day lives? How do we get them invested or get them knowledgeable about the judges in their community or in their state?
And Brother Jay, I'm gonna have you to just pause on that because we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, I would love to hear your answer to that question because I think Nira, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like there are so many different things that are taking us out, and that when we go into the ballot box, we just focus on the political candidates and not the judicial candidates. And I think that is going to have to change if we want to see a change in our culture, but most importantly, if we want to see a change in our justice system, we have to start looking at these judges. So, Brother Jay, you're going to just need just a couple of moments. When we come back, we want to give you an opportunity to answer that question and so many more. Folks, I'll need you to stay riding with us. We got a lot to cover in this conversation, so stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we've been talking about the latest early release of the killer of Laquan McDonald, the 17-year-old who was killed back in 2014. The officer, former police, Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke, was released today only after serving 3 years in prison. Now, his prison term was 7 years, but he served only 3 of those years because of good behavior. We've been talking to attorney Jay Wendell Gordon, along with Culture Crew members Nira Muhammad and Rashad Staten. Jay, I want to get back to your thoughts about this. I mean, you really put it, like, hit the nail on the head when you talked about the important role of judges. And Nira said, look, I didn't even know, never paid attention. Now, I think it sparks a lot of people's mind to say, you know what? We do need to look at the judges. I want to share with you very quickly what one of our watchers on YouTube had to say. Tynese checked in and said, I refused to vote for the circuit court judge in my city in 2020. What was sad was no one was running against them. Like, judges really run unopposed in a lot of areas. And so Nira brought up the question that I would love to get your thoughts on is, how can we get more people to become knowledgeable about judges and their records?
People like me who are fearing. No lie, man, because y'all aren't there. She's in education, I think you said. You're on radio.
Right.
You aren't there. You haven't been in front of these folks. I've been in front of Katie O'Malley, who wants to be the Attorney General of Maryland. I know that's not a good fit. I've been in front of the judge I told you who told me that a high school principal is subject to public official immunity. I know that's a bad decision. I've been in front of all these judges, and what makes me unique is that I practice law all across the state of Maryland. So I've been in front of many judges, and so many more than your regular or normal or usual attorney, because I'm not limited to the city. I'm not limited to just one county. I go all over my state. And so what I've acknowledged to myself and to my colleagues is that we as lawyers are not doing enough to educate the public on the full panoply of the judicial system. Like, we haven't done enough to educate the public, particularly when it comes to judges. And yeah, judges, a lot of times they run unopposed because, you know what? It's for a long time, it's been a history in this state, in multiple jurisdictions across this state, that if you opposed a judge, that was taboo, and they would come after you. In Prince George's County, if you decided if you were a lawyer and decided that you wanted to run against the sitting judges back in the, I would say in the 90s, 80s, 90s, 70s, all the way up until recently, the last 5 years, that was taboo, and they would come after you. They'll come after you for your license, anything. There's story after story after story of folks who have ran to become judges against sitting judges, and something bad has occurred to them. It wasn't until recently, I think it was Judge Ingrid Turner, who beat the system, became the first person in a long time to run against a judge and win. And now she's retiring because once you get in there, you're not even treated the same as everybody else, because they feel like if you weren't appointed by the governor and you didn't go through their systematic vetting process, then you might be a judge, but you ain't a full-fledged. You're not really one of us. But I'm saying all those processes are based upon politics. They're not based upon who's the smartest one in the group. You don't have to be the smart. Quite frankly, the guy said the high school principal was a public official subject to public official immunity. That's like qualified immunity to a certain extent. You don't have to be the brightest one. You just have to have good politics. And if your politics are good, if the governor likes you, then yeah, you'll get an appointment because he's the kingmaker. He just boom. I want him.
Wait a minute, hold on, Jay. Hold on, brother. You said you don't have to be a good judge as long as you have good politics with the governor.
You don't have to be a good lawyer to be appointed judge. People think judges, they're super smart. They're this, that. You know, we used to hold them on pedestals and revere them. No, they have good politics.
Wow.
Would you explain, and this is not to cast aspersions, but you know who our U.S. attorney is? Eric Barron.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall Eric Barron being a federal attorney. I don't recall him ever trying a federal case. Now, if he has, it couldn't have been many because he's been a delegate for a long period of time. And but he's now U.S. Attorney of the state of Maryland. What experience does he bring to bear? And I'm not, he's black. He's black. And I'm not casting aspersions on him, but I'm looking at his work. I'm looking at him going after Marilyn Mosby. I look at him going after Kenny Raven, who went after Kenny Raven. Now he's going to say, well, I inherited all these things, but you're the boss now. Okay. And, you know, I don't know what made you qualified to be the U.S. attorney for the state of Maryland. But, you know, I do know that you used to work with Joe Biden. That's what I do know. So I'm saying all these things to say that if your politics are right, you can be anything. It don't matter what's in here. It don't matter what your experience is, what your level of education is, as long as you have the basic minimum. And usually the basic minimum is a law degree and then practicing law for 10 years. That's basically it. And so, you know, and it makes it seem like I'm picking on people, but I'm not. But if we just take these judges off these pedestals, haul them into our civic meetings, and talk to them and tell them what you're looking for, tell them what you want. And if they can't deliver it, they don't get your vote. These sitting judges are basically judges that have been appointed by the governor, and now it's their time to run for office, and they need your vote to maintain office. And so when lawyers come up, when lawyers will challenge, they always say this lawyer's challenge, I'm not a sitting judge, or this lawyer is challenging sitting judges. Normally, if the lawyer's last name doesn't end in an A, B, or a C, which puts them at the high portion of the list, when, you know, most lay people, they don't know nothing about judges. So let me just vote in alphabetical order. Let me just vote down the line because it's simpler, you know. I hope I've done the right thing. But nah, man, we need to get to know these people who are taking the bench. They do not deserve a pass. They are harming us. There's a reason why Maryland leads the number of incarcerated black males. And it's not because it's only white judges sending black males to jail. Let me tell you that.
Wait a minute, and so we're gonna have to
Google that. You need to Google that at your next break about how bad our record is for incarcerating black males.
Black men incarcerating other black men.
Man, black men, black women, everybody incarcerates black men in Maryland, and it's outrageous. You can't even get a black man out on bail. You know, before he's been convicted of anything, they'll figure out how to keep him in jail. And now you're not even getting court dates until 6 months, 8 months, 9 months after you've been arrested. So you're destroying family because of COVID and everything else. You're destroying our community.
Wow, one case at a time. I want to bring back my culture crew. Nira, you know, one of our watchers on YouTube, Hamid said, an abnormal system will always produce an abnormal results. I mean, that's where we're in right now. We're in the midst of an abnormal system.
I couldn't disagree more. I mean, I'm just sitting here taking in and soaking in so much knowledge, and I hope all of you guys are too. But it feels really great to just have an actual lawyer sitting here telling us about these systems that many of us know very little about. And I think that is the big key: information. We need to make informed decisions. It's very hard to make informed decisions when you just are operating from a space of not knowing. I don't even think it's an ignorance is bliss situation. I mean, I would consider myself someone who's very active in my community. I'm very, I've been out there to Annapolis marching for police brutality and these bills, but there's still so many things that I do not know. So again, I'm one of those people that I'm really flabbergasted, because it sounded like what the lawyer was saying is that it's not what you know, but who you know. And these are very serious positions that you don't need to get off of who you know.
Yeah.
Or what you know.
Yeah, no doubt. And Rashad, that's the other part about it. I mean, it's a lot of elbow rubbing. It's a lot of, you line in my pockets, I line yours type of business is happening. But the business of administering justice, the business of saving lives, the business of punishing people for violation of the law, it seems to be on the back burner.
It's one of those unfortunate things that the brother is lifting up, is the idea of like the intricacies of politics, of relationship, relatability, power and influence and exchange, and who is at the cost of what. And oftentimes we are the ones that are exploited for the political exchange of power, position, and influence. And that's one of the things. Politics just covers a larger base. It can be localized, it can be statewide, and it can go through all levels of government, even down to the executive branch. And one thing we have to do is spark, like we said, we can use one conversation around how we elect our presidents to how we elect our mayoral candidates and replicate that to be the same way that we now approach things of electing these these sitting judges and these judges that will sit in these magistrates. I think is very important. I'm glad that he brung that part up, and I'm glad that he's definitely taking time to make it make sense. But I am not surprised at the inner workings of how politics plays in these parts. But well, even more surprisingly is how these things are perpetuated by one of the main one of the factors that stays consistent, and that's one is our governorship, right? How do we then look at the governors and how they have autonomy over what positions and what things that they put in place based off of who they want to be in these positions to maintain a sense of power? So now that reflects us back to what we now got to look at our governors.
Yeah, and Jay, as we wrap up this part of the conversation, but you know, President Biden, to his credit, he has nominated and appointed more Black women to federal judge seats. How do you foresee that impacting, you know, how the law is administered over these next couple of years?
Time will tell. And you know, I've kind of matured past the shiny things, the baubles, the trinkets, and all those things that used to get our attention, like Obama's and Kamala Harris's, you know. So yeah, I do appreciate and I do not take anything away from the fact that he has taken this bold step of appointing more African Americans to the bench, but we need to find out what is their caliber. Has anybody spoken to them?
Right.
We just got our first one in Maryland, and I just realized that she hit the bench when I was researching Marilyn Mosby's case, and realized that Marilyn Mosby's case is in front of the Black judge. And so I was like, damn, I didn't even know she was here. You know what I mean? And she's qualified. She's got the experience, and I hope, you know, that she used her powers for good as opposed to something other than the good that we need, and that is justice. But you know, a Black face doesn't do it for me. As I said, Maryland leads the country in incarcerating Black males. I kind of sent you this article that was, you know, that I was kind of speaking of.
Right.
And so Maryland probably has one of the highest numbers of Black judges in the country. And I'm not saying we're you know, busting at the seams with them, but we got our share. But we still hitting that number.
Wow.
And anytime you're in front of Mississippi for anything, like you're worse than Mississippi. And I got a lot of good friends in Mississippi, but that ain't one of the states that
if you're incarcerating more Black people than Mississippi,
you know what I mean? I
Dang.
don't see them as a bastion of equality. You know what I mean? Although Mississippians, they love their state.
Right.
But look, I wouldn't want to live there. I don't mind visiting, but I don't want to live there. And for that reason, so no.
That is Jay Gordon, attorney, the warrior lawyer. Thank you so much, dear brother. We truly appreciate your time.
Yes, indeed.
Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. Did you know that today is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day? We're going to check in with Miss Chrissy Abrams to get her thoughts and give us some understanding and insight about this ongoing epidemic and how we can keep ourselves safe. So that conversation is up next. Also, we're going to talk about pay transparency, the impact of pay transparency, that now states across the country are forcing employers to share their salary requirements when hiring. How does that impact Black job seekers? We'll have that discussion. So we got a lot to get to. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the show. Our next discussion is going to be around public health and safety, HIV/AIDS awareness. Did you know that this Monday, and I just want to correct myself, this Monday, not today, but this Monday, on February the 7th, we are going to be celebrating National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. And here to give us some insight and most importantly, some understanding of where we are when dealing with this AIDS situation, the HIV, and making sure that we keep ourselves healthy and safe. We have Ms. Chrissy Abrams Woodland, who serves as the director of the Division of Metropolitan HIV/AIDS Program in the HIV/AIDS Bureau at the Health Resources and Services Administration, to talk to us a little bit about this day and most importantly about the AIDS epidemic. But before then, just want to let you know this is the type of conversation that we're going to have here on The Culture and continue to have. And I'm so happy that Chrissy is joining us today. Chrissy, thank you so much for being on The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First and foremost, Chrissy, what is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day?
So as you mentioned, February 7th marks the annual observance of National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. And this observance is an opportunity to increase awareness about HIV education, testing, community involvement, as well as care and treatment services among the Black community. And I will say this is especially important since the Black community is disproportionately impacted by HIV. In 2019, African Americans represented only 13% of the U.S. population, but 40% of people with HIV and 41% of new HIV infections. So in order for us to end this epidemic, we do have the tools to do so. We need to increase awareness, education, and testing, especially in the Black community.
So Chrissy, when we look at this, I would say, are we still in an epidemic? Where are we in a sense of, the number of people who have contracted HIV, the number of folks who have AIDS? Are we still at a crisis level, or have things died down?
No, so things have not died down. We are still definitely in an epidemic.
Okay.
There's an estimated 1.2 million people living with HIV. So it's still very much so at the forefront as a public health issue.
And what's the demographics that's driving this epidemic right now?
So as I mentioned, the Black and African American communities are disproportionately impacted. So just to give you an idea, in 2019, 62% of HIV infections among Black or African American persons were attributed to male sexual contact and 31% to heterosexual contact.
And what age group are we talking about here, Chrissy?
Well, I don't have the age groups, those percentages in front of me particularly, but I will tell you that 20% of the new HIV infections as well that year were among Black, gay, and bisexual men.
Wow.
And so the statistics are alarming because even according to the CDC's HIV risk reduction tool, the lifetime risk for African American gay and bisexual men is 1 in 2 if the current diagnosis rates remain the same. And, like I said, alarming. But also, let's not forget about the Black women who are also disproportionately affected by HIV compared to women of other races and ethnicities.
Yeah.
The annual HIV rate among Black women is 11 times that of white women and 4 times that of Latina women. Again, very alarming statistics.
So I'm wondering, Chrissy, are we finding that people have a different attitude, you know, about protection, about making sure they keep themselves healthy and safe? I mean, you know, this is 2022. AIDS have been around for a very long time. I would go as far as to say, what, about 40 years?
Yes, that is right. And I think we are in a time or an era where there is just a tad bit more complacency, mainly due to the fact that people are not dying at the rates they were in the earlier stages of HIV.
Right.
So,
people are living with HIV now.
Yes, people are living long, healthy lives and are not dying necessarily from HIV disease. I mean, it was this deadly disease. It's now a manageable chronic condition.
Wow.
And so that has taken us to a different era in time where people may not be as fearful of HIV, but we still need to be very vigilant.
And so, you know, when you're talking about the most affected of the community, you say gay and bisexual Black men, you know, how are you working to have those conversations? Like what's being said or what's being done to ensure that those Black men don't lose their lives?
Yeah, so definitely great question. And, you know, and it's just not just the gay and bisexual Black men, but as I mentioned, also the Black women, and just overall the Black community. So, you know, we find that there are many barriers, right? So one mainly being people don't know they have HIV. So if you don't know you have it, then how can you access the care and treatment that you need? And ultimately, you may be transmitting it to others without even knowing it. So 1 in 8 people with HIV in the US do not know they have it. So that is a major concern. So again, getting tested is key in knowing your status. You know, the other issue is HIV stigma. You know, that is it still exists, and it presents a huge barrier to care.
Yeah.
And so as we look at this and the stigma and the fear of discrimination, particularly for those African-American gay men who are not only dealing with homophobia and racism, but HIV on top of that. So, you know, there's also other areas that we are addressing, such as looking at, you know, of course, historically, mistrust in the healthcare system, right? And the social and economic issues that also may impact Black communities from accessing and staying engaged in HIV care and treatment. And, you know, I'll now tell you, when, you know, speaking to communities during our virtual site visits, we often hear too about just the everyday needs, such as housing, transportation, to the medical visits, and, you know, and food. So treating HIV often is not the priority when someone doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, or they don't know if they'll have a safe place to lay their head at night.
Right.
So this is something. So all of these barriers are barriers that the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program can help with. So our program not only provides medical care and medications at little to no cost, but also assistance for those support services, such as that emergency housing or food or help with your utilities.
Absolutely. I want to bring in Coach and crew member Nira Muhammad. Nira, talk to me about or share your thoughts about what you're hearing from Chrissy Abrams Whitland right now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of ways that we can get more of our youth, especially our young people, to become more aware. Because again, because this is not such a big crisis as it was seen back in the 80s and the 90s, we don't really hear people talking about it anymore. And a lot of times things are out of sight, out of mind. So we really have to talk to our young people about the importance of practicing safe sex, the importance of being comfortable with who they are and accepting who they are, because acceptance is a really big thing as well. Yeah. I know I personally have a lot of friends that are in the gay community that are struggling with their sexuality. They're struggling with so many different things, with homophobia, as she mentioned, with some are, you know, disowned from their family. So there's so many barriers. And even as women, you know, the issues that we deal with HIV, that stigma is there. So some people are even just afraid to even get an HIV test because of that stigma. So we really have to get past our fears, because education is the biggest key. So that's the big thing. It's educate, remind, and even provide, protection to young people or people of all ages. Make sure that's something that is readily available, because we all can't, afford to go into CVS and purchase a box of condoms. So just making sure that those resources are there and that we're constantly keeping people informed. I think that's a really important thing. And I love all the information that this beautiful queen just gave us.
Chrissy, I want to add to what Nira brought up, which is about having conversations. What do you recommend or that partners do and those who are sexually active do with their partner? What type of conversation? When do you bring that up? I know people say, well, you need to ask the question. Some people just start at the beginning, like, hey, you're going out on that date. The next thing you know, you tested. Some people break it down like that. But what are some of the best ways or techniques that you would recommend to have a very, very difficult conversation? Because even though some may be open about it, others may be very closed about it.
No, and that's so true. And then again, it's all down to that level of comfort, right? So how comfortable are you with your status and able to share it? But personally, I do think that it's something that needs to be discussed early on. I mean, there's no reason to delay that conversation. And while it may be difficult, it's a necessary conversation. And I just want to point out too that even though you're HIV positive, we have viral suppression now, right? So we have medications. We have a 1 pill once a day option, right? That can suppress your virus. And, basically what that means is that, people with HIV who take HIV medication as prescribed and reach and maintain an undetectable viral load have effectively no risk of sexually transmitting the virus to their partner. And that's important. And that's important information and messaging we need to get out. So although you may have HIV, it's even more important for you to maintain your undetectable viral load so that you cannot transmit it sexually.
Absolutely. I know we only got about 30 seconds, Chrissy. So talk to us about, what's planned for the National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day that's happening on Monday, February the 7th. How can people get involved in, from HRSA's perspective? But what's planned? What can we expect?
Yes. So actually, we are doing a number of these radio media tour interviews, getting the word out, trying to increase, as you said, that awareness and that education. But you could also visit our website, hab.hrsa.gov. That's hab.hrsa.gov. I also recommend people visit the hiv.gov website, where there's also a host of information, where to get tested, where to find providers. I mean, there's lots of information out there. So I just encourage everyone to visit those websites, get educated, get involved, understand what's going on, and know your status. Don't just assume your status. Know your status.
Know your status. Chrissy Abrams-Woodland, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network to share this most important information about National HIV/AIDS Awareness Day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks, gotta get tested. Gotta get tested. We gotta take another pause. When we come back, let's talk about the impact of pay transparency, how that may affect you if you're out there seeking your next job opportunity. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Have you ever been looking for a job, folks? Been online searching for a new job, new opportunity, and you find something that you absolutely love, and you say, "Oh, you know what? I will be perfect for this position." But then when you scroll to the bottom, you scroll to the top, scroll to the bottom, you look around, and you cannot find the salary. Well, this has been the issue for many people in the job market nowadays, but there are new laws that will be starting to be implemented across the country in about 9 states. They will require that employers, it will be a state mandate requiring employers to state the compensation for certain positions. This is something that we're starting to see. This is a trend that, which is why we wanted to bring it up on the show today, because I was like, wait a minute, hold up. I've been in that position, and I'm sure you've been in that position. But now to see it actually getting pushed and that there are laws around it, this is opening up a whole new world. Now, why is this happening? People are saying because of one thing, pay equity. I want to bring back my culture crew here, Rashad Staten, Nir Muhammad, as we talk about this issue of pay transparency and the impact that it will have on job seekers. All right, so Rashad, thinking about this, I want to share something with you, Rashad, then get your take. And of course, Nir, I want to hear what you got to say. But here it is. And starting in May, New York City will require nearly all employers to provide the expected salary range in every job posting. There are, like I mentioned, at least 9 states and cities are forcing employers to share more compensation information with job applicants, including California and Rhode Island. In Maryland and Washington Maryland, the employers must disclose the pay range for a position if a job applicant requests it. Connecticut employers must provide the pay range upon request or when a job offer is made. In Nevada, employers must provide salary range information to any applicant who has been interviewed for a position. Employers in the Ohio cities of Toledo and Cincinnati must provide the salary range if an applicant who has received a conditional offer requests it. Rashad, is this a good move, a big step for pay equity?
I think so. I like the idea of it. I think it's one of the policies that may have more advantageous benefits and implications than negative. Well, I think one, it probably established a standard of knowing your worth, right? Most of the times we are job seeking and things of that sort. The lack of information then allows you to then be undermined by your worth and what the job and the task and the scope of work is going to require of you. But I think this policy in itself creates an equitable platform that we know, and it may even resolve and reduce or minimize in itself the disparities that we see between races and ethnicities and genders in itself, that is already putting out there the baseline or the starting rate. And then it allows you to now go into negotiations based off of your own expertise, your own skill sets, and who you are and what you bring to that job opportunity. I like the idea of it. I like the fact that this is a conversation, and I've seen it show up in other works as we talked about the NAACP imaging license, and where athletes are now being fairly compensated for theirs. The Tokyo Olympics and making sure that athletes are paid across all of the different type of sports in itself, and to see that it's showing up in everyday work in the career fields, I think is a great approach to make sure that we are all well informed of knowing our worth, and we know our standards of how we want to be compensated for what we give and give most of our time throughout the day for.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nira, one of the big things that the question is being asked about this whole idea of pay transparency is who benefits from pay transparency, and most importantly, who benefits from pay secrecy. USA Today reported that women and people of color have historically been offered significantly lower salaries, and corporations profit from underpaying them. Mm-hmm. And as one professor and president and CEO of the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, Mr. Holder, said one of the biggest reasons for pay secrecy is that the private for-profit sectors benefit from the mystery surrounding pay. These are essentially savings they get to keep. These are costs they don't bear. So you got companies that are putting out these job postings there, and guess what? They want to make sure that you might be coming in like, all right, I want about 50, 60,000. The job might pay 75.
No, Farajii, I cannot make this up. I literally just saw this about 2 days ago on Facebook. I'm a part of so many groups on Facebook, so I'm saying all types of random things. Nonetheless, a Black woman, she made this post that another Black woman came to a job interview. She only asked for about 80,000. They gave her the 80,000, but the position was paying up to 130,000.
What?
So she left 50, and the woman was making fun of her. And it was an awful post. Because why are you making fun of her? But I understood how the other Black woman asked for less, because sometimes we're afraid that if we ask for too much, we might price ourselves out. Mm-hmm. We're afraid that they may say, you know what? I have another candidate over here who's willing to take maybe 75,000. So I'm going to go with that candidate versus the candidate that's going to ask for more. So again, knowing what that range is helps us to make a more informed decision, because again, we're living in a time of so much uncertainty. People need jobs. They need to make sure that their rent is paid, their mortgages are paid, that their families are taken care of. So a lot of times we just don't have the luxury, especially as Black women, to kind of I just know myself, we really do have this fear of going into an interview and asking for too much money, knowing that when we get in there, we're going to be running the entire office. We're going to be running the entire, nurses station, and we're going to be holding it down. But we're afraid of boxing ourselves out and not getting those positions. Case in point, my sister started at a new job. Her coworker, a Black male, came in making about 20,000 more than her, and she was doing his job. Wow. She wound up getting promoted, and her white boss had her fire the Black guy.
Wow.
But just because he came in and asked for more, he was given more. And so again, we as Black women, we have to stop being afraid. I get it. I've been there, but we know our worth. We're one of the most highly educated groups of people in America, Black women. So we have to ask for our worth. We know it. We need to ask for it.
No doubt. But see, you know what? And I think that, and I think that when you're talking about, we see this on social media, and people always know your worth. But it's like, let's put this within reason, right? You know what I mean? If you're a college student came out, and you just graduated, you're not getting it, depending on the industry, depending on the experience or what your degree might be in. You may not get $60,000 like you wanted to. You might have to start at 40. Does that mean? And this is why, folks, you can't shape your view of the world from social media, because social media have your ass fired, or not getting hired at all. But
I do love the transparency. We need to know. I personally, when I've been looking for a job, if it doesn't have the job salary on there, I skip past it. Personally, I always think of those being the jobs that are trying to underpay me.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to know. I actually just did an interview. And matter of fact, I got to eat my own words, because I did just do it. I did just have a job interview for a school here in Baltimore, and it was a great position, but they were not trying to pay me. I mean, they were already thinking of all these places that they could put me that had nothing to do with my job description. Oh, you do this? Oh, we want to bring you on for equity. We want to bring you on for this. We want to bring you on for that. Oh, you write curriculum? Oh, I want to bring you on for that. Whoa, now, hold up. You can't even afford me for the position that you offered.
Wait a minute, hold up. I'm still at duty number 1. You got me at duty 5.
I'm looking at this list right here, and I'm like, this pay isn't adding up. I was a classroom teacher, baby. I write curriculum. This isn't adding up.
Right. Hey, Rashad, I mean, and I think that's one of the things, like, you come into a situation where, you might believe like, oh, okay, I can finagle this situation. I can get something out of the deal. You know what I mean? But then not understanding all of the other factors. I mean, you worked in the school system, for example, like, what did you hear from students, like high school students or college students when you were on campus? And, did you feel like they had realistic expectations about the job market?
Well, one, I think, no, it depends on your level of education.
For what?
Your socioeconomic status, your level of sense of self-worth. I think that all plays a part at such of an early age. I myself just came across this own experience where I had to negotiate my own worthiness of what I came at the table with my own skill sets, my own intellectual property. And I was able to get the amount that I thought was reasonable for me to live an accommodating life and to still thrive, right? At such a young age and being a young professional. But I think, like you said, it's still having this pay transparency allows us to have this equitable way of now assessing, right, where it's not hidden, right? And I learned that myself. Most of these job opportunities that hide it is either because if you don't know what you're worth, they're not going to tell you your worth, right? So then, but again, you can't go in there trying to be too prideful and think that you are worthy of this and you only hit 3 out of the 12 qualifications and you don't have no experience to hit these objectives and these metrics either. But if you know that you have it, right, and sometimes the education doesn't qualify you as much as work experience these days, and we know that certifications can take you even further than degrees in these days, right? So that's one of the ones that we got to play out with. But I think as we go into this equitable society, that pay transparency may be one of those building blocks that allows us to remedy all the rest of the ills that society has played against us and made us be in this competitive nature. What Nira said was, instead of that sister making fun and making a mockery of this sister not knowing her worth, she could have been, eye contact. We as a people, we can talk without talking. And she could have literally said, like, go up a little bit. Like, what are you doing? Like the hitting on, like,
you in there talking about your money. You got your homegirl in the back, like, yo,
right.
up, yo.
And then if I'm like one sister to another sister, I would never do my sister like that. I would never do. If I know I got a bomb sister coming here, I'm interviewing her, and I'm like, sis, listen, let me tell you something. This is what they're offering. Come ask for the bag.
Well,
that's how you look out for your sister. But there's so many blessings. There's blessings that comes from that.
Right.
There are blessings that come from looking out for other people.
No, and you're absolutely right. But here's the situation, though. If you bring somebody in, you don't want them to be making more money than you because they become more qualified than you. I mean, how many times have we've heard this in a context of white and black, but how many times have we heard if you have an older black woman bringing in a younger black woman with more educational experience, the older black woman might have gotten that job been in that role for 20 years. Mm-hmm. The younger black woman, the younger sister, she coming in there and she's got the educational experience. She got, the energy and the whole nine, and they automatically make her, she's going for a role where she's the supervisor of the older woman. And then that creates division between two black women in the workplace.
Yes, I know cases where that has happened. I actually know a relative who retired from the state for a similar situation where someone was brought in who had a degree and she was asked to train this person, and she felt slighted because she has been there. Gosh, I'm in my 30s, so she's been there at least 20 years. So, it forced her to go into retirement. But again, they came into the workforce at a time when degrees wasn't necessarily as important for some of these more lead roles. And so I think, times have changed. I know when I was at Morgan, I had older women, black women that were in class with me. Literally, they were old enough to be my mother, black women who decided, you know what? I'm not too old to further my education. I'm still here. I'm still above ground. There's so much more life in me. So guess what? You're never too old to go back. We just were talking to Eric P. Lee on here the other day, who's 63 years old and is in a PhD program at Morgan State University.
Yeah.
It's never too old to go back and get a certification or to get a degree. There's so many opportunities. You can do it online. You could do it at a community college. I mean, there's always opportunities to learn and to further your education, especially if you want to make yourself more marketable. It's competitive out here. You have to be as marketable as you can.
And speaking of competition, right now, folks, you know, as much as we talk about pay equity, we cannot forget the larger big topic of the wealth gap that exists between black and white in this country. Check this out, and I want y'all to just marinate on the statistics of this right here. At the current pace, women won't close the pay gap with men until 2059. We're talking about, what's that, 37 years? 2059. And this is according to the Center for American Progress. But check this out. And it could take a century for black and Hispanic women. It could take 100 years for black and Hispanic women to close the wealth gap in this country. When you talk about black and Hispanic versus white women, 100 years.
Farajii, hold up. Wait a minute. So we already low on the totem pole with orgasms. Now we low on the totem pole with money too. We just failing over here. I'm feeling some type of way over here, Farajii. I'm feeling some type of way.
I mean, it's my.
So I have to wait. My granddaughters. That's my granddaughters.
Right.
We have to wait for the generation of my granddaughters. We got to make some changes now. This transparency is needed yesterday.
Right. Let me throw this out there, and Rashad, I want to get your take on this too. The median black household owns nearly 90% less wealth than the median white household. This is according to Goldman Sachs research on black women. Lower levels of earning for black households drive much of the racial gap. That's why. Let me just share this with y'all. This is why, and this is why this platform of Black Star Network is so important. And this is why we have a show by Deborah Owens called Get Wealthy. Because when you look at the numbers, folks, the number of people and number of homes and black families, we're losing. We think that just because you might got a great job somewhere with your state, that you winning. And you are, but you winning by yourself. Right. Collectively, we're losing. And we need to get an understanding of money, how money works. And of course, the impact, and not just the impact, but just talking about how to make sure that money works for us, and we're not just working for the money. But Rashad, when you're thinking about 90%, the median black household owns nearly 90% less wealth than the median white household. I mean, that is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a fact that I think we all knew was reality. But I think things like the pay transparency allow us to move this pendulum a little bit more forward, because now we have systems in place that allows us to now look at our colleagues that don't look like us and see their worthiness and say, hey, you really weren't qualified, and I know you aren't qualified, and I'm overqualified, and I do this job twice as better than you. Right. We already been taught to work twice as hard as you. So once we know where their baseline is, since whiteness is the standard, now we can literally put an assessment and a number on what that standard of whatever they supposedly say is good. And now we can equate that to what black excellence is. I like that idea. I like it because now I can go to a colleague, and I remember why I stopped further my education. I looked around at these tables and decisions, and these younger white folks that was like younger than me. And I always been young at tables. And I'm like, how did you get here? And they're like fellowships. And I'm like, what is a fellowship? So I started studying, and I'm like, okay, that's I got here through guts and glory. Educated. Why am I paying to go into debt to get this degree when you went through a 6-week expedited program and you're now just as qualified? And I see how you're now at a table with my aunt. My aunt had to work her way up the ladder. You just cheated your way around the ladder by cutting out a few of the extra steps.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I need to get into a fellowship. Send them my way.
Wait a minute, I haven't been a recipient of a fellowship. It takes a lot of work, man, to try to, to get those things. It's very competitive. Look, I'm not going to get mad at somebody for taking advantage of resources and opportunities. You know what I mean? So like scholarships, fellowships, any other opportunity where you can get money to further you in any endeavor, I'm not going to get mad at that. The problem I'm getting mad at is the fact that a lot of us, and I'm speaking of young Black folks and Black people, is that we don't take advantage of these resources and these opportunities, right? You know what I'm saying? Either one, we don't know, or two, we just not trying to put in the work to really take advantage of these opportunities. I can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at that.
At this point, we kind of got to move a little bit past constantly saying that we don't know, because information is so readily at our fingertips now.
Facts.
We are in an age where we can get anything that we want to know. You can learn how to build tables, whatever, off of YouTube, the University of YouTube.
Right.
You can look up anything. And I'm not just saying like Wikipedia, but we can really research any information that we want. If you want a fellowship, Google fellowships. Google fellowships for Black women, Google fellowships for Black men, Google fellowships for nonprofit, gun violence. I mean, you can literally put anything in a Google search engine and find it. So we have to get a little bit past this. Oh, I don't know, but you knew how to look up something that you wanted. You know what I mean? Like, don't have technology working for you. I mean, you don't have technology working for you. Don't work for technology.
Right. Go ahead, Rashad.
No, I agree with Nera right there, and I just wanted to build on it because I think you alluded to something earlier when we were speaking of the pay transparency. It's like, one, it's hard to be at fault for ignorance of information when we're in this society where we're on overload of information, right? But then so you can negate the fact that you don't know the information. But what the paid transparency said in certain states is if you ask, they are obligated to tell you.
And look, let me just tell you. Hey, look, let me just tell you. Most people don't. I don't know how many people really ask.
What? Every interview.
Let me tell you. I'm telling y'all, man. I'm serious.
When they get to the part of the interview where they say, "Do you have any questions?" I sure do. So, what is the salary requirements? What do you guys offering for this position? I'm not getting past that first interview, not knowing, because I don't even. I need to figure out if I even want to go to the second interview. You want to interview me? I'm interviewing you too.
Nera, I'm telling you, that is a question that you ask in the email. Mm-hmm. When you send your stuff, when you send your resume, when you send your cover letter and say, look, I noticed that I did not see your compensation. What is the compensation? Because guess what? I'm not entertaining you if you're hitting below what I expect.
Oh yeah, I know. I think maybe, and I'm thinking of that too, because I've been on so many over the phone interviews because of COVID. Yeah. So in that first initial conversation though, I was just asked to come in and teach for 20 minutes, teach a whole lesson at a school. But once I knew what that pay was, I'm not even going to waste my time or your time with me preparing a lesson, driving 35 minutes to the school when I know that pay is not equitable to my skill set, period.
Yeah.
But that one conversation was enlightening, and it made me feel really good about what the hell I do. I was like, oh yeah, I am that chick. Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you.
No, that's what I'm saying. And it goes back to the fact that we can't be afraid to ask. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the fact that if a company, even if you get further along in the interview process, that you really stand on what you believe you are worth. Now, Rashad said it, you can't come into there huffing and puffing you got 3 out of 12 qualifications.
Mm-hmm. Rashad, you hiring? Look.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that you need to have a real conversation with a potential employer, because guess what? This is your time. And look, as you get older, folks, I know y'all know it like I know it. Money is great, but time
can't get it back.
You can't get it back.
You can't get back.
You know what I'm saying? You can't get back time. It's a waste of my time. Like, I'm starting to come to the point, Rashad and Nera, where I'm like, you ask me to do something, you be like, well, I'll pay you. Be like, okay, but how much time am I going to have to spend on getting this situation done? My time is more important now. My time is more important. Yes, I love I want to get paid, but at the same time, my time, I can't get that. I can get money, but I can't get that time back. Yeah. And I think that's the big part of it. And Nero, you and I have talked about this, and jobs want you to do so much for so little. They want you to, I'm serious, man. Part-time jobs act like they own you full-time. You know what I mean? And it's like I can't.
That's the American way, baby. We are overworked in America. Some countries don't even have a 5-day work week. They literally have 4-day work weeks.
Yeah.
We need 4-day work weeks. We praise overworking in America. That is what we oh, we love to brag about how early we get up in the morning and how late we go to bed. Not I. Not I.
Oh yeah, because I see cats on social media talking about hashtag team no sleep. No sir, no sir.
No. You will not see bags under these beautiful eyes.
No
Absolutely
sleep,
not.
No sleep is unhealthy, son. You making bad decisions. You just irrational as hell.
That's a level of wisdom. I'm taking a nap. If I can take a nap, I appreciate my time. I appreciate my peace and I appreciate my sanity. And as I said, people, all these great innovators and all these great thought leaders and these 1%, they take naps. They work 3 to 4 days out of a week. They start early and end early, right? So it's like sometimes we just got to have a blueprint. And then from that blueprint, we can make it make sense to us. But this idea of like taking a piece out of the American pie and to get to the table to eat the American pie, you gotta build yourself up by the bootstraps. Just out of the way with that. We don't got to continue to toll and just toll our bodies, our spirit, and let them exert our blood for the betterment of them when we ain't getting nothing out of it. At a point, it's like no.
For sure, the pie probably not even gluten free, so I'm gonna be sick anyway. I don't have time.
Well,
know your worth, and if you don't know, ask a question.
Hey, look, exactly. And here's my thought. Like, you know, as we look at this, like I said, it's only 9 states. There are 50 states. So if there's only 9 states, that means the vast majority of the country is still behind. And you know what? I don't think there are a lot of causes that people can be a part of, but this one is so small, but yet it's so big because it opens the door for equity. It opens the door for new opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Especially for Black people. You know, we've been talking about that. Black people get underpaid and all of those things. So it is such a big deal that I just had to bring this conversation. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, trends, posts, and doing the most. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
All right, folks, it's time for your favorite segment, Trends, Post, and Doing the Most. Every time we have this segment, I have to say this it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Because you know, people really doing the most. All right, so
I can only imagine.
Let me tell y'all something. All right, so this story, this dude is he's one of hip hop's greatest MCs. But sometimes this dude does the most. He does the most. Apparently, the Toronto-born rapper Drizzy Champagne Poppy Drake. He's not just emotional on wax, folks. He gets emotional in real life. Okay. Apparently, once the news came out, I'm sorry. This guy was really in his feelings. Once news came out that A$AP Rocky and Rihanna were having a baby, Rashad, Drake unfollowed them both.
As if he didn't have a baby first.
Right, like.
Oh, yeah.
As if they've been together in recent years. Like, bruh, she's been over you for years. Let it go.
I'm like, is he being petty or is he protecting his energy? Either way, it's still funny. It's like, it's still funny. Like you said, you already dropped the bomb, and you ain't dropped the bomb yourself. Your rival rapper had to drop your bomb.
This dude came out in a minute there. He really unfollowed them, man. Like he got in his feelings.
I don't want to see them happy.
I don't want to see them happy.
I don't want to see them winning.
This little pregnancy.
This is crazy. Like, so apparently he unfollowed them, and it was just like, it was picked up, and, you know, people are just like, well, why he unfollowed? Like, first and foremost, bro, you and A$AP, okay, we know you had a little situation, a little crush, a little thing for Rihanna. I get it. Okay, I get it.
Take a number.
Facts. Let me tell you the couple that kind of reminds me of Rihanna and A$AP. And I don't know why this couple come to mind, and I could be way off on this. Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson.
I can see it. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like for me, well, like when I first heard of Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson, I was thinking to myself, like, what? How you say? Right? Like, what? How did that happen?
I didn't get those vibes from A$AP and Rihanna because one, A$AP Rocky is fine as hell. I'm not surprised at all that she wanted him. Oh my gosh. I'm just saying, the black women have spoken. I'm speaking for black women. A$AP is fine. I'm not surprised. Okay. Once I saw him on that, I've been thought he was fine, but once I saw him on that Calvin Klein ad, I was like,
oh my gosh. But you are a Drake fan as well, too, Jay.
Huge. But he's been emotional, and I don't like it. Drake, nobody is. Listen, your problem is that you pick Instagram models, and that's why you can't have a fulfilling relationship. Get off of Instagram, have a real conversation with a real woman so that you can stop putting hot sauce in condoms. Okay? I'm not mad at him for doing it because the fact that she actually tried to use the condom proved his point of why he had to do it. But it speaks to the type of women that you're dealing with. Right. Yes, Rihanna's a boss. Yes, Rihanna's the type of woman that he needs in his life, but he keeps going after Instagram models, and that's why his dating life is trash. Man up, Aubrey. Get you a real woman, man, so you can be happy too.
You know, but I think though it also speaks to the culture that we find, like, and so with social media, and I've experienced this a little bit, but like when you unfollow somebody on social media, that's a very real thing. That's like a whole thing. Rashad, have you ever like unfollowed somebody?
Yeah, no, I had to unfollow a few things. Like people, I had to unfollow a few trends. But I did that not out of like pettiness. I was protecting my energy. That's why
protecting my energy.
Is he being, because it's a choice. At this point, it's a choice. Like all social media don't got a leadership button. So we literally tap and decide what we want to follow. So if I'm gonna follow you, it better be something that's going to service me or entertain me. Him watching his old women fall in love and build their own family, I'm sure it's not entertaining, and I'm sure it's not nothing that makes him feel whole as a man. He already know he's like the MC walking male diary. right? So when I turn on the I know he's going to express my
come on
emotions to
though.
somebody
Like,
else.
how long has it been since the two of them have even been together? Like, bro,
it's been eons. It's been
Thank you. Like the fact that you're even following her, like, did you not want her to move on? Did you not want her to be happy? Did you not like if I feel like if you ever loved me and you know that you didn't do right by me, let me be happy. Don't be mad that I moved on and I'm happy now. You're a man.
But no, but I think that part about, just, you showing your disapproval, like, oh, I disapprove of you, so therefore I unfollow you.
Hate.
You know what I mean? It's just like, bruh, like you just can't see
as the woman, I'd be like, oh, he still want it. That's all it's gonna do for her. Oh, but I already knew that. Like, you're not doing anything, making yourself look desperate. Sad.
Wow. Well, you know what, and I think that, and we can have a much larger conversation, because I think it warrants this, that social media etiquettes, and most importantly, like when you meet people on social media, or when you connect with people on social media, like the platform becomes this other thing. It's not just connection. It becomes like you weaponize a platform that was supposed to bring people together. Now you're like, I'm going to unfollow you. Take that.
And what he could have done so that he wouldn't have to deal with this fallout of us talking about it, is just simply muted them. When you mute someone, you're still technically following them, but you don't see their posts. You can choose to mute their stories. I guess it's so that people aren't like, oh, you unfollow me? That awkward conversation. Because you don't even get that DM like normal people. Normal people, we send you a DM. Oh, so you unfollow me?
First thing, how does I'm gonna be honest with you folks. Like, you can follow me on my social media. If a person unfollows me, if they unfollow me, I don't know if I would even notice.
Because you don't have an app, Farajii. There's an app that you get, and it tells you. There's an app for the app, okay?
There's an app for that. Okay. I get it. So you gotta get the app to see the people unfollow.
Listen, Farajii, you can watch people's stories and
that's too much. That's too much. Yo, that's too much.
No idea. I learned something new today.
No, bro. Let me tell you, Rashad, this is social media queen, but let me tell you something. That's too much. It's too much. Like, seriously. Because I don't want to go through the emotional turmoil and stress of like, oh, who is this person? Man, why they unfollow me? What did I do to them, man?
That like, oh, you unfollow me?
Nobody got time for that, man. Nobody got no time for that, Otis. Come on, man.
Back to time again. I ain't got time.
I don't have time.
I ain't got time to give my energy towards that. But I'm thinking, like, did he do that so he had to put out a public statement? Because once they went public,
what's the public statement for?
Right? Like, is he in agreement with it? Do he favor it? I guess that was just his way of like, if I unfollow all my millions of followers,
it was so corny. It gave us another. Drake just wanted his name in the headlines. He just wanted.
Let me just tell you, this is the same guy, and correct me.
He wanted to be talked about.
Dear, correct me if I'm wrong about this. This is the same guy that moved into the neighborhood, I think, of his rival, his hip hop rival. I think it was Kanye West. Oh yeah, I think so. They kind of like moved into the neighborhood. I mean, he does.
You know what? They're probably besties on the low. They probably are.
They are besties on the low. But my point is, I don't have time. My point is, when he was battling Pusha T in that little beef that they had, right? I mean, he literally put $100,000 out to find dirt on this other hip hop artist. It's like, bro. You're doing the most, bro.
Farajii, they didn't go through manhood training. They not FOIs. They didn't go through manhood training.
Right. You're doing too much, bro. You're doing way too much.
Look how long it took him to do music with Chris Brown, and they had to actually do a battle in the video to symbolize their rivalry.
And he got destroyed.
A whole gang beef in the video.
He got destroyed, man. It was one of the best videos though for hip hop. That was a funny video.
It was.
Man. Well, that's all we got right now for trends posting doing the most. We always doing the most, but again.
Just call me Aubrey. We can talk.
Yeah.
Do we agree that he was doing the most? This one?
What?
Yeah.
I got to fix my headphone because I ain't hear that correctly. What? Folks, Nir Muhammad and Rashad, thank you so much for joining me tonight on the show. We truly appreciate both of you.
Peace. Always. Appreciate you as well.
Oh my gosh. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. We got some more great conversations that will be happening. And also along with that, folks, we want to encourage you that to continue to support us here at Black Star Network. We have a lot of fun. We do have those lighthearted conversations. But as you can see, we do have the very, very serious conversation, because guess what? The culture is mixed up of both elements. You know, it's not just about the serious. It's about the, you know, the things that people do, the things that people say, the crazy things, but there's also about the important things. But either way, here you have a platform here on the Black Star Network, here on the culture. This is a platform just for you. So make sure you support us. Make sure you support Brother Roland Martin, who's continuing to build out such an amazing roster of talent here on the Black Star Network, from Dr. Jackie, his lovely wife, to Deborah Owens, to Dr. Greg Carr, and to yours truly. I mean, we are just continuing to build on the great legacy of Black media, and we need your support. So make sure you do your due diligence. Right at the bottom, you can show your support for Black Star Network by going to Venmo, PayPal, and all of those platforms to show your support. And of course, again, I thank you, as we have been kind of just moving along and making this show a show that you can be proud of, that you can tune into and truly, truly enjoy. I thank you so much. For me and all of the culture crew, for my dynamic tech team and those in the control booth, I'm going to just let that go. We thank you. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk to you for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.